Good evening. Happy New Year, Heather.
Happy New Year. We made it.
Yeah, we lived. We survived.
Yeah.
It is 2021. This is the first episode of How to CPCU of the year. Welcome back to any of our returning viewers. If you're a new viewer, thank you so much for tuning in. We are happy to have you. This is a live program, meaning we will take your comments and questions real time if we can for ourselves and our guests to help the conversation along and to answer what you might have on the top of your mind. So this is a production of the CPCU Society and myself and Heather as members of such organization. And this is really meant to help folks that are new to the society, curious about the society, current leaders, new leaders, future leaders. So please comment, like, subscribe, share, hit the retweet, hit the notification bell so that you can get notified when we go live in the future. So tonight we are talking about something that is very personal to me and that I am very, I wouldn't say I'm like in love with it because then my wife might get a little bit jealous, but it is something that is a passion for me within the CPCU Society. Heather, you'll get your turn. Don't worry. Like your day will come. All right. But tonight we are talking about the Agents and Brokers Interest Group, and we are lucky enough to be joined by two of the senior leaders of that interest group. We have with us Brian Taylor, and we also have with us Michele Schroeder. How are you guys doing?
Doing great. Thanks for having us.
Awesome. Thank you for coming. So really the intent here is to get people that are in the society or just getting into it or about to get into it, some more information about what the Agent and Broker Interest Group is and kind of how it operates and what kind of value y'all bring to the agents and brokers that are in the society. So before we get rolling with that, I would love to give you each like a minute or two just to introduce yourself and kind of what capacity you fill at the interest group. So if you want to go first, Michele, go ahead.
Sure. Thank you. My name is Michele Schroeder, and I work at the Bouchard region of Marsh McLennan Agency. I'm our agency risk manager. I've been in the industry for a long time, been in the agency side since 1995. And I think it is the more difficult side. I started on the carrier side, and the agent side is much more difficult, but more rewarding and really fun. So I think with the CPCU Society, there's a lot of focus on carriers and there's not as much on the agent. And I think we are a huge force in the insurance world. Like we are the marketing arm of most companies that go through the independent agency system. So I'm really excited. I know about 4 years ago, our interest group was fledgling and it wasn't doing well at all. And now we've got some really good traction and we're doing some great things and bringing agents in. So agents realize the importance of the CPCU designation and also all the other resources and the cool, amazing stuff that we do all the time. So hopefully that's what we're bringing to the society and our agents and brokers.
Awesome. And what about you, Brian?
Well, first of all, I hope that the minute or two is not like the minutes that apparently are being given during the impeachment debate right now.
Yeah, we're going to try and be a little bit more expeditious and a little bit more interesting. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, right. No, thank you so much, and happy New Year to everyone. And here's to a much happier New Year in 2021. I'm actually retired from the insurance business. I was 47 years, most of it on the agent and broker side with Marsh and with Alexander and Alexander Aon, and then I spent about 17 years owning various agencies in various lines of insurance. But I think the most exciting thing about ABIG, the Agent Broker Interest Group, is that when I got my designation in 1980, I was encouraged to become a CPCU by, of all things, an agent slash broker. And I always felt like that the society was more dedicated to the company side and could be so much more effective on the agent and broker side because, as Michele said, it's in its own way, it's much more difficult. And there's a lot of things that can be done to support agents and brokers. And I am absolutely delighted with the progress of the group over the last 4 or 5 years, and to be part of it going into this year and the next year in expanding our mission. So, Matt, thanks so much for this opportunity.
Yeah, no, thank you for taking part and taking the opportunity to kind of bring this information to folks that could use it, specifically agents and brokers that would really get some value out of getting involved. So, and I forget if you had mentioned it, but just for anyone who's watching or will watch, Brian is the current chair, so he is he's the buck stops with Brian right now, which is he's in the power seat within the IG, so that's always a good spot to be in, depending on the day. But so I'll tee it up for you, Heather. I mean, like, obviously I'm a believer. I'm kind of on the inside, so I have some inside knowledge. But I'll tee it up for you, Heather. Like, whatever you do or don't know about the agent and broker interest group, what would you want to know about the organization and kind of like what it does?
Yeah, I'll come at this from the perspective of somebody who is on that carrier side, but gosh, I have interactions with agents like day in and day out in everything that I do. So I'm looking on the Institute site right now, and I see that you guys' mission statement is to provide continuing education, business networking, career development, and technical training to CPCU and candidates who have been or aspire to be licensed insurance agents and brokers. So the biggest part that I see about that I want to call out is that you guys have a call in your mission statement that this group isn't just for agents and brokers to be involved in, right?
Absolutely. We want everyone to come in. It's going to help agents and brokers if we can help relations with carriers and wholesalers and claims people. Like, it all works together when we all understand the other aspects of the other people we're dealing with. So for sure, we have underwriters and claims people as well, and welcome them and want them in our fold.
And you even have an underwriting background, right, Brian, at one point in time?
I did. Yes, I did. I had an underwriting and a marketing background from the company side. And I think the most important thing, Heather, is that what we're trying to do at this point in time is to give. There's basically 3 parties in a transaction in our business, and if we can get 2 parties more knowledgeable, if you will, of what it takes for each party to do its job well and professionally, then we can work together better to improve it and ultimately to bring the customer, the client, into that understanding as well. So that's another thing that I think is real important that Michele referred to in her comments.
And we also, so we also have collaborations with the other IG. So I think something that'll come out of this as we also intro other interest groups that are in the society is we can talk about, some of the crossover. So you and I specifically, Michele, we were involved in a collaboration with the underwriting interest group.
Yeah.
And how did that play out? What did we do there?
That was really fun. I was just thinking about that. It was a 2-part series, and it was, I forget our title, but it was like Think Like an Underwriter, I think. And so one of the 2 webinars was from the underwriter's perspective, like writing a piece of business, and then the other one was from the agent's perspective. And it's interesting, underwriters are like, agents, and agents are underwriters sometimes. So if we understand what they're dealing with and what they're going through, the other parties, I think it just helps everyone work together better. And I know when I started on the agency side, my underwriters were my very best mentors and friends, because they knew if I knew what I was doing, I would make their job easier. And I wanted to make their job easier. I wanted to know what I was doing. And I think that still very much exists in our industry. But it's just, it's hard if you don't know their day-to-day and they don't know your day-to-day and all the frustrations you have. So, and on the underwriter side, the underwriter can say no and close their file. But the agent, we still have to go find that somewhere. Like, it's not no for us. Like, if you say we're not going to write this line of coverage, we have to go find it. Like, I don't know what we do. So we're not done. And it feels like we're never finished. But I think it was really eye-opening. And it was a fun 2-part series, I think. Did you think so, Matt?
Oh, yeah, no, definitely. I definitely learned things just in putting it together. Some of the take-homes were, we kind of looked at what it took to build a best of breed submission, right? Like, what submission is an underwriter going to get from a broker that's going to get put at the top of the pile because the I's are dotted, the T's are crossed, the pertinent information is there to make the underwriter's job easier. And that was also a big take home, is like, you're right. Like, a lot of times it's like you have that conversation with the underwriter and you're like, you just like to say no. And then like the underwriter's like, well, you don't tell me anything, so I can't say yes. That is, yeah, like that's like the he said, she said of that relationship. Yeah. But it was a fantastic exercise, and it took the form of a webinar, actually 2 webinars. And then we have yet to kind of like connect the circle on this, but I really think we need to double back and write an article for Insights as well. So I think that's also something.
Yes.
I was going to say, Brian, that's something that you've been really focusing on, right?
Yeah, I became part of the publications committee a couple of years ago. In fact, I think I just finished my second year. And one of the things that always concerned me about Insights was that there wasn't a whole lot in there. There was some great ancillary information for agents and brokers in terms of learning about claims and underwriting and loss control and so on and so forth. But there wasn't anything that addressed agents and brokers specifically. And when I was lucky enough to follow Ramya Sunan on the publications committee, she had already laid the groundwork for a lot of that introduction of agents and broker perspective in our professional journal. And that's been one of my big things, is to get more articles that address issues that agents and brokers confront. And it's been a great opportunity to work with claims, underwriting, legal, IT, with those perspectives, because, I mean, let's face it, agents and brokers are affected by every one of those. And we need to understand that and be able to work within those environments with more knowledge and foresight.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually super exciting to me, Brian and Michele, because my chapter, I'm the Central Illinois chapter, so we're a really big chapter, but we have we have noticed with the surveying that went out by the society recently that we have the lowest number of agent and brokers that are within our chapter. And we're looking for ways as a chapter to better engage that community. We see it as an opportunity for our chapter to be able to build that membership base. So what would be ways that you guys could think that a chapter could work with the ABIG, the Agent and Brokers Interest Group, to be able to really build up that interest for agents and brokers to want to join our chapter and want to be part of the society? Because a lot of times, I think the CPCU designation is always thought of as that underwriter designation, and really it's a holistic designation that's really for the industry in general. It's an industry standard designation. So give us some ideas how chapters could engage with the Agent and Brokers Interest Group.
Michelle?
Yes, I have some ideas for sure. So starting back at the very beginning, when we have summer interns who are in school or brand new, we call them PITs, producers in training, like people who just graduated or they're from another industry learning insurance. I had them today, we did it. We go to the Institute's website, they create an account, and there's 3 or 4 free classes like basics of insurance, holistic risk management, and cyber. So, but the kids who are in an RMI program, if they can get 2 CPCUs by their degree, they can be a candidate member. So if we can make that easy and inexpensive where they can actually take the test, then they're in. And if they're an intern of mine, they already have an account. So the institutes can grab them. We can figure out who those candidate members are and capitalize them. The other thing, CE credits are always big for agents. If you have CE and a meal, oh my gosh, you'll get agents there. And probably agents who are not CPCs, and that's okay. And I think this whole work from home stuff, a lot of people were doing online study and online working. And now I have several people who are like, I think I have time now to do a few CPCU classes. So my top producer, he took 2 in December. He's going to take his last one in this window, which opens in a couple days. He's going to be a CPCU. He's going to be our next profile of an agent. And I'm rolling it through because before people, it's just so hard. It takes a long time. But now it's online. It's much easier. So I think that will get people in. Once you get the designation, I'm really excited about the CPCU in good standing. A lot of people don't like that, but we heard about that like 4 or 5 years ago. Now it's in effect, but that will set somebody apart. That will elevate somebody's experience and professionalism in my mind. If you can say, I'm on this list, I'm a CPCU in good standing, is your other agent, the other people you're talking to, are they? And I think things like that will just help. It's funny, I had talked to people in the society, like agents are not going to come to meetings because their clients aren't there. So if we can find a way to get clients there. So I think the change in Into Risk, too bad we couldn't see what would happen this year. But I think that's going to be amazing when other people can come. I think you're going to get risk managers and clients, all kinds of people coming. I think it's going to be huge. And we can even have other memberships for other industries, but that's a whole other thing. But I think all of those things together, but you want them at your meeting, CE and a meal, and you'll have plenty of agents there, more than you can handle probably. That's my long answer.
All right, Brian, did she leave any meat on the bone for you or what?
No, but
Yeah.
frankly, I love having you all as part of my leadership group because you all do all the work. Now, Heather, one question I have for you. When are your meetings? How often are your meetings, and are they on a specific day at a specific time?
We do typically try to have them around the lunch hour of the day, and we shake up the time during the day of the week just so that we can offer opportunities throughout the week. But those are just like the chapter meetings. Obviously, we have networking opportunities and other opportunities that we put in front of our chapter as well to join in on. So we have a multitude of opportunities. One of my ideas is like, let's get somebody from that agent and broker space to come talk at our iDay, because that draws community interest, and that's typically a very large event. Obviously our iDay last year was virtual, but we had like 448 people who registered for it. And so it was a huge virtual event, but and that's almost like, that's more than double what we would normally get to show up at a meeting, because it's, it's an all day kind of thing. So we're looking at new and different ways in our chapter to be able to kind of spread things out over days as well, so that people can pick and choose to be a part of what they want to be a part of. And of course the pandemic has gave us those opportunities to be able to do that, but we're not the typical, we're going to have it always on the exact same day. That's just not the way that we've wanted to go, because we want to make sure that even on that carrier side, those people have trouble making it to meetings as well. They have their daily schedules and everything that they have to deal with. So it's we do try to keep it shook up a little bit. I'd like it if we had a few more evening events, because I know how busy agents are during the day.
Oh, yeah.
So.
But I think you're certainly on the right track. And I think you used the word earlier about holistic. And yes, it's the designation has carried that that image for so long. But one of the things, and the agent, the broker that got me involved in CPCU way back in 1975, he said, this business is much more than just selling and underwriting insurance policies. And of course, obviously it has grown in the last 45 years. It has grown to be so much more complex.
Yeah.
But the curriculum that is offered through CPCU brings everything into focus that has anything to do with the particular risk management practice, if you will. And it is so much more than just insurance. And, it's legal, it's finance, it's accounting. Pardon me, it is sales and marketing. And all of that at some point or another has to be brought together. And for agents and brokers, I can't imagine a better master's or almost doctoral pursuit, even for those agents that are out there actually doing the sales and marketing. I can't imagine a better pursuit, and that's the message that we need to get out. And I think the idea of having an agent or a broker come to your I-Day and say, this is why this means so much to me, and what it can mean to you as agents and brokers is one of the most valuable professional experiences you can have.
Yeah, that's all good stuff. I just like a really quick kind of note. I could totally share this on Sell Like a CPCU earlier in the day, but I actually found that I-Days as a broker was a fantastic way for me to get some of my clients to an event, like an insurance event. And this might seem, I mean, like, we're brokers, we're always going to look like we're a little like schmarmy or whatever, but I mean, it gives them some ability for them to sell their wares and make money and things like that. So if you have service providers and stuff like that are your clients in the ecosystem, like, it works for you to get them to the events, because now, one, you're killing two birds with one stone. Like, you're able to network with your clients or with your prospective clients while you're at a professional event. And on top of that, it's worth their while. They get something out of it. And then, also if you work with nonprofits, that's also an opportunity. If your chapter has not taken a nonprofit under its wing, that is a definitely part of the give back. And as a broker, you can facilitate that. You're supposed to be a master negotiator, so I should hope you could facilitate that. So we did get a question from Mary. She asked, any idea what percentage of CPCUs are agents and brokers? And then we got a really quick response from our current CPCU Society chapter president, Sharon Coaches. Not enough, Mary. We're working on it. I think in terms of I don't have an exact number in terms of the number of credentialed CPCUs that are agents and brokers. I think that's actually a much higher percentage than the percentage of current CPCU Society members that are agents and brokers. So I
Yep.
can say that, and I can say that right now, if agents and brokers say it's roughly 50% of all the desks in the industry are occupied by agents and brokers, I would say within the CPCU Society, maybe it's 10%. 10-15% is probably a conservative number. So we have some work to do. I mean, there's definitely some work to do. Michele, you had mentioned something specifically that's something we've been doing for a little while in the IG. It's that profile of an agent or broker. Like, what is that? Why do we have that going on, and why is that important?
So we started that, I think, in 2018. It's been a while. And we like to do it monthly, but we haven't been able to do it monthly every single month. But we would pick an agent or broker that is in the CPC Society and feature them. So they would answer a questionnaire in their own words, and we would post it on the ABIG website. And I think it's really good to hear what different people are doing, what their experience is, we ask questions like, what do you think the biggest challenges are for the industry? What are the things that keep you up at night? Lots of questions like that. And recently, last year, we added some COVID questions as well, just to see what other agents and brokers are doing. And those are all, you can read all of them on our website. So if you go to the main society website and get involved, and interest groups is right there, and agent broker is the first one. So you can find them in the news section.
I'm actually I'm running right now to try and find on the website so I can pull it up really quickly. But yeah, we started off with just kind of like a paper interview, so to speak, on the profile. So that was really good to get started with. And then after that, the next iteration was we're still doing that kind of like interview or survey style type profile. But on top of that, some of the profiles, Brian has sat for one of these, have been video based. So how did you find that process? Was it like pulling teeth, Brian, or what?
No, not at all. In fact, being the ham that I am, I rather enjoyed it. 15 minutes of fame and so on and so forth. But I think those profiles are really important because I think they send a message to the members of the society that agents and brokers are professionals, and they are just as concerned about being a professional as an underwriter, as a claims adjuster, as a loss management professional. And those profiles reinforce that message. I am amazed when I see those profiles. I am amazed at the depth of experience that agents and brokers have had. And Michele mentioned that she started out in underwriting. I started out in underwriting, and I think there's no substitute for that foundation in our business.
Yeah,
CPCU just makes so much more when you switch to the agent and broker side. CPCU just makes so much more available to you in terms of understanding what it means to work with customers and with clients to help them manage risk.
Yeah.
And I would just say, like, those profiles that you guys are doing is so much of the value add of why agents and brokers need to become part of the society. Why? It's free publicity, anytime your name is mentioned out there in the public, it's an opportunity for you to network and for people to find you. So
Yes.
I think that that's a fantastic thing that you guys are doing for that particular community of people who are who seem to be a little bit underrepresented right now in the CPCU society.
Well, the other thing that, like having firsthand been involved in the process, the other thing that really kind of like came out of it was just how diverse the backgrounds are of people that have come into the agent and broker space. Like there is no cookie cutter background or heritage or like even like educational track that gets people to being a good, sales oriented insurance professional. The one I threw up on the screen, David Owen, I mean, he was a football player. He played on, I don't think he ever got to block directly for him or play. I think he was defensive line. I don't think he ever got to like specifically play against him, but he was on Purdue teams that had Drew Brees on it, right? So like he was a football player. He's based out of Texas, and now he does a lot of commercial property, business development. And we've had people that have come from walks of life where they were, I mean, myself, I'm an engineer and kind of a science and math nerd, and that's how I came to this place. Tons of different people that have come from different walks of life end up being really good salespeople, which I found completely interesting. It's like, it's the old kind of like back and forth, like are leaders born or are they like made, right? Like it's the same thing with sales professionals. Like, are sales professionals born or they're made? Well, if they're born, there's no like common place that they're born in, that like they don't come from one region or something. There's a very diverse background that they come from. So so what other initiatives or kind of what other aspects of the interest group do you all think really could either things that we're doing currently or things that are on the horizon, do you think that could really bring value to agents and brokers, whether they're already society members, or if they are kind of like they're not part of the cool kids club right now and they're on the outside looking in, that they could get involved in and kind of like extract some value from?
Well,
I'm excited. Go ahead, Brian. No, I've gone first the whole time. You go.
no, I was just thinking back to our Into Risk sessions that Matt, you, and Michelle did. And one was, sales and marketing in the era of COVID. And quite frankly, yes, it was directed towards experiences and sharing best practices in terms of how to ethically sell and ethically market during the era of COVID. But one of the things that I thought, I was hoping that the message would get across, because the message was certainly there. You know what? It's not really that much different. Yes, it's different in terms of physical relationships, and you have to adjust for that, and you have to work around those restrictions, but it's basically the same. COVID and non-COVID. The other thing was, I'm like George Patton. I don't believe in paying for the same real estate twice. And so our second risk.
We need to get you a T-shirt that says that.
Yeah.
I would wear it proudly.
Yeah.
But we had our second Into Risk session was about, okay, you've got this new client now. What do you do to continue that relationship, to strengthen that relationship, to build that relationship into a long-term relationship? And everybody knows that it's a lot less hassle, it's a lot less expensive, and it's relatively easier to hold on to customers than it is, once you have them, than it is to go out and replace them. So, we were focusing on that as to what you can do in the way of best practices to make sure that once you get that customer, once you or our client, that you hold on to them, because that's the way to build long-lasting relationships that are mutually beneficial for all parties concerned.
Yeah. And when that was actually very timely. I think that was a good idea. I forget who put it forward in the leadership team, but it was very timely because, and we just talked about this in Sell Like a CPCU earlier today, come February and March, like whatever sales goals you had for January, you went back and you were like, okay, we need to kind of like reevaluate what we're doing here. A lot of agencies, depending on what your mix of business was, priority number one turned to retention. It didn't turn to new business. And that was really, a lot of us swapped out the sales hat for the risk manager hat really quickly in March and April because of that. And so that was really timely. So I think that was poignant and was spot on. Really high value. So Michelle, what are your thoughts? Anything else that kind of agent and broker has in the mix right now that, the agents and brokers that are part of the society you're looking on would derive some value from?
Well, I'm excited about your Sell Like a CPCU because I think we don't really talk about selling, right? So, and
checks in the mail.
And I think producers would welcome any kind of training or education that will help them sell better and retain whatever that might be. So I'm really excited that we're doing that. I'm excited that I've heard that the Institutes is working on some type of an agent broker curriculum. I don't know what that is, but hopefully that's coming soon and that will be great. I feel like it is my personal mission to talk to everyone about our industry because obviously we have a lot of people retiring. And so a lot of people don't know, like, you can make a really great living in our industry and we have residual commissions unlike others. So you have clients and you keep them and you get paid every single year. And it's amazing the what we have. So talking to different organizations and they don't even think about us. So I think us reaching out can help with that too. But yeah,
do you have a similar dynamic, Heather, in Central Illinois? I know you're a little bit displaced from it, but basically being somewhat in the neighborhood of Chicago and that kind of like metro area. We definitely have this dynamic here in like North Jersey and the New York City area. Like everyone who would be a potentially good salesperson or business person or even IT people, they look across the river and there's New York City, right? Like obviously pre-COVID, it was a different era than now, but still, I mean, it remains to be seen that, most of them are like, oh, I'm going to go to Goldman Sachs. I'm going to make $1 million a year. And you're like, dude, if you just grind it out with us for, 10 years, you'll make $1 million a year and it's renewable. Right? Like you don't start from zero at the beginning of every single year, right? Do you have a similar dynamic to that, Heather, that you're kind of like in that metro area or no?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that, the Midwest is the Midwest, and there's, I mean, where I'm at is the middle of a cornfield in central Illinois, but 2 hours away and 2 hours north, there's Chicago, where there's that attraction to the life that is there. But people don't realize a lot of times, I would think from that agency and broker space, that you really can make a great living that is sustainable. And your cost of living is going to be a whole lot less in an area that isn't, a major metropolitan area like New York City. So, yeah, I guess Sharon just chimed in about the curriculum that's out there. That's awesome. It's already out there, and it takes the ARM into account as part of the program. So that's super exciting and great things that you guys can promote through your interest group as well. One thing that I would like to ask you guys is there a way that you are reaching that next generation agent and broker? And are you actively seeking out opportunities as the ABIG to reach the next generation? Because the generation that's coming in right now, right? They have kind of this weird taste in their mouth of, I don't want to be a salesperson. Some of the time. So what would you guys suggest would be the best way for your interest group to be able to reach that generation?
Well, we actually have 2 scholarships for $500 to send a student to an annual meeting, or actually to the Leadership Summit, but we weren't able to use them. So we've got these funds set aside for that, and I think we just try to reach them as we can. I'm seeing my interns and my new hits, and we're trying to go to college fairs. I've done some Zooms with a few different schools, and been like a guest speaker in classes, and just, telling my spiel, like, this is a great place. Come with us. It's wonderful. So that's what I personally am doing. Our interest group, we're doing some things. We probably can do more, but always. Brian, what do you think?
Well, I think this generation coming in, and I couldn't agree more with Heather's comment about, "Ew, I don't want to be a salesperson." Well, and I think Matt made a comment earlier, are salespeople born or are they made? First of all, I don't think anyone is born to sales. And I would really like for our industry to find a better word than sales, because I think it does turn young people off. And if we could find some way of communicating to them, and I think that's one of the things that ABIG is working really hard on right now, mm-hmm. that this is not selling. This is sitting down with customers and prospective customers and prospective clients, and listening, not just hearing, but listening, and knowing enough about that person to start a valuable conversation in terms of what's keeping you up at night. And then helping them understand what their options are. And it becomes pardon me, it always has been, but it's becoming more important that this is a professional service. And I think there are so many really bright young people out there that if we could get them past that perception of sales, and show them what's possible. You all said, you can make a really great living at this. Mm-hmm. And, I think it's almost like, sales. That means, kitchen tables at nights and on the weekends and all. No, it's so much more than that. It's so much more.
Yeah.
Well, and it's really, I like the places that it's a tightrope walk, right? Because like if you call it like relationship management or something like that, or advisor or something, sometimes people that would be compelled by that like competitive, like fueled aspect, like the more traditional kind of like hyper jacked up, sales type interpretation, maybe they might shy away from it. So I understand why organizations, that's a work in progress, right? Like I've worked for places that it was the same position. I've worked for 3 different places that had 3 different titles, right? Like that's exactly, and they were trying to kind of like figure that out too, I was like, my one buddy from high school, he was like, look, I like working for places where I can name my own title, and he was like, I always choose Supreme Overlord. That's my title. That's what shows up on my business card. So Sharon kicked in another comment here. The North Carolina University's put together an agency internship booklet to help agents bring in RMI students as interns. It's a great way to bring these students in. I would agree. Any kind of white paper or just like really to the point, kind of information that you can bring to either local educational outlets, local organizations that might appeal, like, nonprofits and stuff like that. Especially we're an extremely diverse group within the industry. The society has doubled down on making sure that we are paying attention to the diversity and inclusion within the society. Mm-hmm. So there are tons of nonprofits out there that are doing fantastic work, trying to get underserved communities, trying to get those folks good paying jobs, good careers, lifetime earning potential. And the insurance industry is where it's at, man. Like, we'll train you from the ground up and take you by the hand and do it. Okay. And so that's an opportunity. I would have to say the other thing that we're doing, this isn't necessarily directly through the Agents and Brokers Interest Group. I do it with respect to my chapter, but if you are an agent and broker and you're like embodying that Boy Scout mentality, like leave the place better than you found it, I've had a call just the other day with Mercy College. There's a couple other colleges within the region where they either have our risk management and insurance programs or they're looking at adding them. Yep. Be a consultant, help, I mean, hell, Heather, you just did your part. You signed up for like a tour of duty, didn't you?
Yeah. I start my professorship at Illinois Wesleyan tomorrow. Actually, tomorrow evening is my first class. So I'll be teaching Intro to Insurance and Risk Management to a bright young class. And so I feel like it's our duty as an industry, and it doesn't matter where you come from, to make sure that the next generation understands how great and how diverse and how innovative the insurance industry is. And that's from every aspect of what we do. So I think the interest groups are positioned this year, especially, to be able to really leverage every opportunity that we have. And once again, that's a big plug. We actually have a road show that the interest groups have to collectively put on for the past year, that's coming up on February 10th. It's out on Interact and everything already. We've got students from various risk management programs coming in, and they're going to talk about from their perspective as future leaders in the industry. So the executive director of Gamma Iota Sigma is going to be moderating that. So it's going to be a fantastic meeting. So hop out at Interact, register for that Zoom meeting. It's going to be a lot of fun. And I'm just personally very excited to hear from the perspective from these students, not just in my class, but also this roadshow that we have coming up too as well.
Yeah. Yeah. No, so you hit on something that's really, I think we all have kind of hit on it. The interest groups, and we did a prior episode. So again, I can't stress this enough. If this is your first time logging in, or even if you're a returning viewer, please check out the other episodes that we've done in the past. We're building a library of content and information for folks that are both seasoned and green to the CPCU Society. But we did a prior episode about basically the IGs just in general. Like, what are they? What value do they provide? This IG is hyper-focused on sales professionals and getting them the information and the skills and some opportunities to be leaders. I think that's another thing that we could do an entire episode on is, how agencies pick sales leadership, and whether or not they could use a little bit of leadership experience before they ever get put in that position. Like, just because you're good at selling doesn't mean that you're a good, sales team manager. But so that being said, that's really kind of like the learning and the specialization piece of it. There's also a fantastic opportunity here for networking. Okay. And it seems like a broken record, but it's the reason why we say it so often is because it is literally that valuable. When I tell my personal story, part of the reason why I am, sitting as a co-founder of my own agency was because of the CPCU Society. I knew that if tomorrow it just crashed and burned, I wasn't going to starve. My family wasn't going to starve. I knew amazing people like the three other people I'm on this live cast with, where they had networks, I had a network. I was going to be okay, right? That kind of safety net is invaluable when it comes to doing something like starting an agency or a new insurtech or whatever. What has networking really brought for you guys, for Brian and Michele? Like, what has the networking within the society brought for you, I would say personally, but then also maybe specifically as folks that work in the insurance sales space?
Michele?
Sure. I just hate to go first all the time. I have made some very dear lifelong friends through my volunteering in the society, people who I love, and I miss seeing them so much. I have a lot of contacts. And like some of our carrier people, if they look me up or they see CPCU, they know that I know things, right? So that's really good. There's definitely a credibility issue, but just networking within the society with our members, but also people outside on LinkedIn. I think that's important as I connect with my friends, getting their connections too. It's just so huge. But the personal level is I have so many great friends. This is the best organization I volunteered with and just some of the very best people. So just having that. And like you said, your network is amazing and how great we are. Like if you needed something, you call and people will be there to help you. So it's incredible.
Yeah. What about for you, Brian?
Well, I'd like to use our daughter and our son-in-law as an example of what the point I'm going to try to make, and that is our son-in-law is career military, and our daughter and our grandchildren, of course. I mean, when you marry the military, and the thing that has always impressed me so much is that it does not matter where they are stationed. They will always know somebody because the service is so integrated, and that they not only will they know someone, but they will be able to go someplace where people are having and be around people who are having the same experience. And I think, quite frankly, that's been the personal part for me of CPCU. It is so great to interact with people from all over the country, and not only personally but professionally, because it's first of all it's personally a feeling of being at home, no matter where you are and what you're doing, but professionally. I think there's two issues there. Number one, I know that I can tap people. I can pick the phone up, or I can send an email and talk with. If I have an issue that I'm not exactly sure how to deal with, and it doesn't necessarily have to do with insurance and risk management. It might be leadership issues. I know that I can pick that phone up and that person will respond. And the other part of it too is there's that support network that's so important. In one of my former lives, there was a whole network of agency owners that when a specific area was hit by a catastrophic event like a flood or a hurricane or a wildfire, and agencies were affected themselves. They were in the middle of that catastrophe, so they were not only dealing with their customers' issues, they were dealing with their own issues. And there was a whole network of agency owners that was available for them to rely upon, even to the point of putting boots on the ground, saying, you know what, I'm going to help you rebuild your agency here. I've got your back. Go take care of what you need to take care of for your customers and for your own family. And I just think that's why the example of our daughter and son-in-law is so apropos in this particular situation.
Yeah, that's like Heather is like a claims person. That's always something that's interesting, right? Like as claims people, you have to rally.
Yeah.
I found it interesting that in situations like what you said, Brian, like agency owners rally too, even though once the all clear is sounded, they're back to biting each other on the neck like dogs. But, in the moment, they will come to your aid. Like they'll help you out. They'll take part in stuff like this where they will share, damn near everything except for maybe like the last little bit of special sauce that they got that they use to be successful.
We like to say we'll share everything except our customer list.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't let that get out. Yeah. What's funny is like we'll name drop like crazy when we're in front of another prospect, but if we're in front of another broker, we're like, well, I rate this restaurant down the street, and it's they do liquor and stuff like that. Like you're like, oh, that's like Giovanni's. No. Don't worry about that. It's not the name. Like but it's a restaurant, so we'll talk that way. So no, I think that is a gigantic value. It's also a value because you're making those also cross connections where I think brokers a lot of times suffer from getting into an echo chamber with a bunch of other brokers, right? So like we talked earlier about that whole like that underwriter just wants to say no, and it's because they go to the happy hour, and the happy hour is a bunch of brokers, and they're saying the exact same thing, right? Mm-hmm. There's no underwriter that's at the happy hour that's like, hey, if you just gave me a couple more pieces of information, this would have been like a done deal, right? So yeah, we suffer from secluding ourselves sometimes too, because there are other professional associations that appeal just to insurance brokers. And so, if I had to make a plea to other agency owners out there, I would say, look, get your sales staff and even your service staff into the society, because it's not just underwriters. There's brokers there too, but also you get to meet fantastic claims people like Heather. You get to meet people that are doing the legal defense and stuff like that as well. So obviously I'm preaching to the choir here for you all, but anyone who's watching, hopefully they get some value out of that. So I'm pretty good. I think we've look, if you're an agent and broker and you've watched this and you're not like chomping at the bit to become a part of this group, I don't know. I think we have to put the paddles on you and try and jumpstart your heart. But so I just want to give you guys some closing remarks. I want to say thank you for coming here and giving us an intro to the interest group. Is there anything that you would like to leave the audience with, kind of in parting remarks, or where they can find more information?
Just come find us. We were doing so much exciting, fun stuff. CPC Society, get involved, interest groups, agent broker. Then you'll get right to our website. We'd love to have you come join us for whatever we're doing. It's a lot of good stuff.
Awesome. What about you, Brian?
Well, first of all, Matt, appreciate your running the show here, and I think you did a much better job than the House leadership did as far as the hearings are concerned. I think my advice would be get involved. It will change your life, and
definitely
that's my main message.
Awesome. Thank you. What about you, Heather? Any parting shots for the three dirty brokers that you had to hang out with for this hour?
Definitely want to say thank you, guys. I think it's so important that everybody who's a member of the society understands what each interest group brings to the society, because let's face it, we're the wheels that make all that stuff run, right? So it's super important. And if you're not a member of an interest group and you have like a tingling interest in this world, jump out there and find out and join. It's really easy to designate which interest group you want to be a part of as your primary or your secondary interest group, and then jump in and help out, because you're the one that's going to make it happen. You're the one that's going to make everything happen within that interest group. So I think I really appreciate you guys sharing that perspective. And I can't say that I call you a bunch of dirty brokers, even though I'm a claims girl at heart, But I think a fantastic session, I already told you this, Matt, would be that you guys bring in, I know you've done that mind the underwriter thing, but you need to bring in a claims person, and how do they interface and work with that agent and broker group, because those are
get out.
That's right. Those are those relationships that sometimes get a little tenuous at times, especially when those claims people have to say, nope, policy didn't say that.
We'll definitely have to hook that up, at least either on Sell Like a CPC, or heck, we'll make it work here, and we'll have dueling IGs. Maybe we'll get the underwriter interest group and the
That'd be
agent and
fun.
broker interest group on here. I want to say thank you again, everyone who tuned in live. If you end up watching this recorded, please feel free to comment and add questions. We will answer your comments and questions after the fact. Thank you so much for tuning in for How to CPCU. We are here every Wednesday night at 5:30 p.m. Eastern, so definitely like, comment, subscribe, share, retweet, hit the notification bell after you subscribe so that you get notice when we go live in the future. And that's it, the first episode of 2021. We're off and rolling. Thank you guys for giving us some momentum, and we will see everyone